Sir, please, I can't hear you, sir.
Okay, so let's start. Uh, as I was explaining, we have seen how we can extract all these data from this side. And so we only come and put them here, 50 divided by 2, that will give us 25. The cumulative frequency before the median class. This is the median class. The cumulative frequency before the median class is what? 22. So that is the 22. The frequency on the median class. This is the median class. The frequency on the median class is 12, which is this. And then this value is the lower class boundary. When we come here, the lower class boundary is what? 21 minus 0.5, okay, which is 20.5. And then the class width is the distance we travel from here to here, from here to here. So the width is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So that is what? It is from 1 to 10, which is what? The width is what? 10. So then when we put them in here, this minus this will give us 3 divided by 12 times 10 will give us 0.25. 0.25 plus 20.5 will give us 23. It means that when we split the people into two groups, okay, 23 of them, when we split these 50 people into two, we will get what? 25, 25. It means that 25 of them will take 23 minutes to travel. Less than 23 minutes to travel. And then 25 of them will take more than what? 23 minutes to travel. That is what the median denotes, okay? Then I will say that from here, we can similarly find our quartiles. In finding the quartile, we are looking at where a quarter of them, the time that a quarter of them spend to travel, and then the time that 3/4 of them spend to travel, okay? So when we want to look at the time that a quarter of them spend to travel, then we may first have to perform this exercise. First, the total, we're using the same data. So the quarter of them is that we divide the total number of people by 4, and we get what? 12.2. It means we are looking at the 12.5 position, okay? But this is the first 8 position, and we know that our 12.5 position will fall here. It means that our first quartile class will be on this line, okay? Our first quartile class will be on this line. And if our first quartile class, okay, I've seen your hand, Christopher. You can unmute and ask your question.
Sir, please, what's the meaning of the quartile class?
The quartile class is looking at where does a quarter of the people belongs to. So this time around, we are looking at time to travel. We are looking at where does the first quarter of the people, or what is the time that the first quarter of them use to travel. Okay. If you remember in class, I explained what a first quartile is. A first quartile is what? Where the quarter of the class belongs to. So if I conduct an exam, okay, and you people are 100, okay, you people are 100 students, but I realize that 25 of you got less than 50 marks, okay. It means that a quarter of my students has gotten less than 50 marks. And we are going to say that practically a quarter of my students are failed. Okay. If a quarter of your students have failed, it means 75% of your students have passed.
Okay.
Okay, so we are dividing the data into quarters. And the first quarter, which is what, 25% of them, it is what we call the first quarter. Okay, and then the second and the third quarter, which is what, the 75% of them, is what we have as what, the third quarter. And then the median that we looked at is where 50% of them belong. That is why we divided it by 2. So here, because it is quarter, we will divide the total number of students, subjects, by 4. And we will look at where the quarter of them will fall. So the quarter of them will fall at the 12th position. So when we move from here, you see, this will be the first 8 positions. Okay. But 9th, 10th, 9th, 10th, 11th, 12 will be in this group. Because before we leave this group, we may have to end at what, the 22nd. So this becomes our quartile class, first quartile class. And in the first quartile class, okay, what will be the lower class boundary? It is 11 minus 0.5, which will give us what? 10.05. Then what will be the frequency on this first quartile? That will be 14. So that will be what we have here, which is 14. What will be the cumulative frequency before this first quartile class? That will be 8. And that is why we have this 8 here. And we already have the class width, which is what? 10. Okay. So in wanting us to find where the first quartile lies, it is 10 plus 12.5, which is the 50 divided by 4, minus 8, which is the cumulative frequency before the quartile class, and 8 divided by 14, which is what? The frequency on the quartile class, times the class width, which is 10. This one will give us 13.7. This means that a quarter of the people spend 13.7 minutes to travel to work. A quarter of these 50 people, okay? A quarter of these 50 people spend 13.7 minutes to travel to work. So similarly, when we are looking at what? The 3/4, meaning where 75% of them lies. We will multiply by 3 because 75 is 3/4, okay? Which is 3 times n, 50 divided by 4, we'll get 37.5. So the third quarter will fall at the 37th position. Let's look from the data to check where the 37th position will fall. So when we come here, this will be our first 8 position. This will be our what? Our first 22nd position. This will be our 34. It means that 35, 36, and then 37 will fall in this group because this one ends at 43rd. So then this becomes our third quartile class. Patience, do you have a question? I think I heard a voice. This becomes our third quartile class. Okay. So then, Christabel, do you still have a question?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So go ahead.
Sir, please, I wanted to ask, where you are going to find the class width, is it always going to be the same or it might vary?
Yeah, the class width might vary. Might vary. Okay. So assuming here is 1 to 5, then the class width will be just 5. So that will be the class width will be influenced by what you have here. So 1 to 5, then you see that maybe 6 to 6 to 10, then 11 to 15, and so on. That is when your class width is 5. But this one, it is from 1 to 10. And from a journey from 1 to 10 is what? 10 difference. Okay.
So what I'm trying to ask is that, assuming the first one will be 1 to 10, and the second one will be 11 to
11 to, hello?
variation.
The second one will be 11 to what?
Yes, 11 to 30.
Oh,
And maybe
okay. Okay. You mean this
the third
interval?
one will be 1 to 50.
Yeah, this interval will not,
Yes.
this interval will not be altered. It will be the same interval.
Oh,
Yeah, we will not have a different interval because
and
it may have
also,
to be
sir,
standardized. Okay, go ahead.
okay, and so one more thing.
Okay.
So assuming we get a question like this, are we supposed to redraw the table and find the cumulative frequency?
Okay, so the table, you will have this table. So maybe what you may have to do is to find the cumulative frequency. Then after that, whatever value you have at the last year, when you are finding the first quartile, it means you may have to divide this by 4, which will be what? 12.5. Then you look at where the 12.5 position will lie in the cumulative frequency. So first 8 position will be here. So which means 9, 10, 11, 12, 12.5 position will be in this group. Okay. So then this one becomes what? The first quartile class. So this line becomes the where the first quartile lies. Okay. So then the lower class boundary here is this value minus 0.5, which will be 10.5. The frequency here, which is this, is 14, which we have it here. The value, the cumulative frequency before the quartile 1 class will be what? This 8, okay? And then the class width, which is 10. When you simplify this, you get 13.7. It means a quarter of the people we are talking about will take 13.7 minutes to travel to work. Okay. Then when we are looking at 3/4 of the people, this one will fall on the 37th position. And the 37th position, you see here is 34. So here we will have 35, 36, 37 position in here. So this becomes the third quartile class. What will be the lower class limit boundary of the third quartile class? It will be what? 31 minus 0.5. And this is going to give us 30.5. What will be the frequency of on this third quartile class? That will be 9. What will be the cumulative frequency before this third quartile class? That will be 34. So that is what we have here. So sorry, this place should have been 3 times 10. 3 times 50 divided by 4 will give us 37.5 minus what? The frequency before the cumulative frequency before the class, which is 34, the frequency on the class, which is 9, times the class width, and you see that we will get 34.38. This means that 3/4 of the people spend 34 minutes to travel to work. 3/4 of the people spend 34 minutes to travel to work. Here, we say that what? A quarter of them spend what? 13.7 minutes to travel to work. And in the median, we say that a half of them, so half of the 20, 50 is 25. So we say that half of them spend 23 minutes to get to work. Okay. So that is it with the quarters. Okay. And remember, we looked at how we can find interquartile range. Interquartile range is the third quartile minus the first quartile. which is the this 34.3388 minus the 13.714, which gives us what? 20.67. Okay. So the difference between the first quartile and then the third quartile is what? 20.67 minutes. Okay. That is from the question. Now we are moving to mode. How do we find the mode from a group data? So we see that these ones, I think I have a chat. Musa, I've seen you raise your hand in the chat. Do you have a question? Musa Sumayat. Okay, if you have a question, we are ready to listen to you. But if not, you and continuing if you unmute and then you ask your question.
Good.
Okay, hello.
Please, the question I had wanted, yeah, sir, please can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. I can hear you.
The question I had wanted to ask, okay, the question I had wanted to ask is where you have the 0.5 that you did access from.
Okay, so normally I shortened it. Before you find, there's a way that you find, these ones are called class limits, okay? But there's something we call class boundary. For you to find class boundary, you may have to, if you see the difference from 10 to 11 is 1. When you divide 1 by 2, you get what? 0.5. So when you want to find class boundary, you add 0.5 to this place and you subtract 0.5 from here. You add 0.5 to this place, you subtract 0.5 from here. You add 0.5 to this place, you subtract 0.5 from here. But because I don't want to complicate issues, that's why I said if you want the class boundary, if this is where your median or your quartile, your first or third quartile falls, then your lower class boundary becomes this 31 minus 0.5, okay? So that you're going to get what? 30.5, okay? I didn't want to go through the stress of subtracting and adding, but wherever your class boundary falls, you subtract the 0.5 from the lower part, and what you get here will be what? 30.5. That's why we have 30.5. So then I believe I can go to the mode. Okay.
Yes,
So
sir.
so for the mode, I think this one is easier. Okay, the mode from a group data. So how do we find the mode from a group data? So what you have to do is look at where you have most of the data occurring or the highest frequency. I think you remember. How do you find your mode? The mode is where you have your highest frequency. Okay. So that is how you identify your modal class. And then when you are able to find where you have your highest frequency, I already is the class width. Then this change in I is the difference between what? The frequency before your modal class. And this change in I2 is the frequency after your modal class. And then this one becomes the lower boundary of your modal class. Okay. So this one with the example, you get it faster. Okay. So when we look at this data here, which one has the highest, which of these classes have the highest frequency? The highest frequency is here. Okay, it means the class from where 11 to 20, okay, has the highest frequency. Okay, then change in one is what? The difference between this value, the value before the highest frequency. So that's 14 minus 8. 14 minus 8 will give us 6. And then this change in 2 is the difference between this and then the one after. So that is 14 minus 2, which will give us what? 2. Then this value, LMO, is the lower class boundary of the modal class. So it will be what? 11 minus 0.5, which we get 10.5. So then, as for the mode, it is this minus this, which is 6, this minus that, which is 2, then this minus 0.5, which is what? 10.5. So then, when we put this together, it means our mode will be what? 17.5. Okay, suggesting that most of the people chose their time of travel to be what? 17.5. I believe the mode is clear. How to find it is clear. This minus this minus this. Because this one is the highest frequency, this minus this minus that, then this one minus 0.5, then the class work, we put them in the formula. There's 6 divided by, so that's it. Changing 1 plus changing 2 times I plus the lower class bound. So this will give us 17.5, meaning most of the people selected their time to travel to be what? 17.5 minutes. Okay. So then we can also find our mode from a histogram. And the other time I showed you how we can find a histogram. We can find histogram from using the Excel sheet and the rest. Okay. So if you want to find your mode from a histogram, if you have this as your histogram, you know the mode is where you have the highest frequency. So if you have the highest frequency, this will be where you will have the highest frequency, and that's what this data is. You see, the highest frequency is 14. So you have your 14. You have to move a line from this corner to this corner, and from this corner to the next corner. And this point becomes what? Your mode. So if you are to plot this thing on a graph, you realize that this one will fall at somewhere closer to the 17.5 value that you're looking at. This one, I've not shown you into details, but when we meet for class, maybe I will talk about it again so that you will know how to move from this side to this side, how to move from this side to construct our this histogram. Okay. Then last but not the least, we look at the variance and then standard deviation of our data, our group data. Our group data. Our group data.
Hello, sir.
Hello, is that Patience?
Hello, sir.
Hello, yeah, Patience, you can talk. Patience, I can't hear you anymore. You can talk. Oh, I think your line is breaking.
Please, this is Hamida.
Okay.
Please, before you move to variance, the mode, the 0.5 thing, I don't know where it came from. The mode, yes.
Okay, so we are here. Okay. As I'm saying that we have what we call class limits. What you have here is called class limits. This is the lower limit, which is 11.5. This is the upper limit, which is what? 20.5. But if you don't want to have a distance between this upper limit and this lower limit, what you do is that you will subtract 10, okay, from 11. You get what? 1. Okay. 1 divided by 2 is half. And you know half is 0.5. Okay. Sure. Yeah. Yes, so if you don't want a distance between these two, this 0.5 that you get, okay, you will add it to the upper limit. Here will be what? 10.5. And when you subtract it from this lower limit, you will get 10.5 here. Okay.
Okay.
When you add it to this upper limit, you get 20.5. And when you subtract it from this lower limit, you get what? 20.5. So normally you do this class boundary when you want to construct a histogram so that there will not be any distance between these two. Okay. So here will be maybe if here is 10.5, then the 10.5 will end at 20.5, where this one will also start at what? 20.5. Okay.
Sure.
So this
Thank you,
is
sir.
class limit. If you want to find the boundary, we subtract 0.5 from here, and then we add 0.5 from here. But what we are interested in is the lower class boundary. That's why we subtract 0.5 from this side to get what? 10.5. So I think it's clear.
Yes, please. Thank you.
Okay. So then we come to where we can find our variance and standard deviation from a group data. And remember, I told you that if you are dealing with population, the denominator is n. And if you are dealing with a sample, the denominator is n minus 1. Okay. And then the population variance is given by this sigma. And then the sample variance, sigma squared, and the sample variance is given by this s squared. Okay. And you know that when you take the roots, sorry, this should not be 2. I'll clean it from the slide before I send it to you. If you take the root of it, it means this one must go, so that when you find the root of this, you find the root of that, then you found your standard deviation. Okay. Okay. So then let's go and see how we can apply this formula to find our standard deviation. So did you guys hear that I've started recording? I don't remember recording. Yeah, I think it's recording. Yeah.
Yes, it's recording.
Okay. So let's go and see how we can find our variance and standard deviation this side. So there's the data. First, we need what? Sigma fx. We need sigma fx squared. I think that is all we need. We need sigma fx. We need sigma fx. This one means multiply f by x. And we know that our x is our class midpoint. This means you can square x and multiply it by f, or you can multiply f by x and then multiply it by x again. Okay. So now let's come and find our sigma fx squared and sigma fx. Okay. So I told you how to find the class midpoint. Okay, I'm sure in the next 10 minutes I'll be done. So to find the class midpoint is to find the average of these two. So 10 plus 22 will give us 11. 13 plus 15 divided by 2 will give us 14. 16 plus 18 divided by 2 will give us 17. 19 plus 21, that is 14 divided by 2, will give us what? 20. So this is our class midpoint. Okay. So let us find our fx. Frequency times x. 4 times 11 will give us 44. 12 times 14 will give us 168. 20 times 17 will give us 340. 14 times 20 will give us 280. So this is fx. When we add all this, we get what? Sigma fx. So this is our sigma fx. Okay. So then, if we have fx here, it means that when we multiply this x again by this fx, okay, the x and x will be what? X squared, okay? So this time this will give us fx squared, which is this. This time this will give us this. This time this will give us this. And this time this will give us this. When we add all these, we get sigma fx squared. And that's all. we are done. We can go and put this, and that into what? So we said find the standard, find the variance and the standard deviation for the following. Okay. So when we
Please, sir, please come again. Sir, please, how did you get your S? Your X?
So for the x, we find it by finding the middle value from 10 to 12. Okay. How do you do that? 10 plus 12 will give us 22, right? What will be the middle when that is when we divide 22 by 2, we will get what? 11. Okay. 13 plus 15 will be 28.
Okay.
28 divided by 2 will
Divided
give
by
us what?
2.
40. Okay. So
Okay.
that is how we got this.
Sure.
So this plus this divided by
The
2
X.
is this plus this. So that's how we got the x. So
Thank
to find fx, it is the
Thank
frequency
you.
times f, which is this. And to find fx squared,
Yeah.
it means when you
I
have this as fx, you may have to multiply this by this again so that you get this. When you sum all this, you get 14,212. You sum all this, you get 832. So then when we come here, what is our sigma fx squared? It is what? 14,260, which is this, okay? What is our sigma fx? That is 832, which is this. So it is 832 squared. Okay, you square 832. Then n is what? 50. That is our total frequency, which is what? 50. So these ones will be arithmetic. This square divided by this calculator work, and then you get what? 7.5. Okay. What is this data? Sorry. So it means that our variance is what? 7.58. And remember that you can find what? Your standard deviation if you take the root of your variance. And when we take the root of this variance, we get what? 2.75. Okay. So we can say that the standard deviation of the number of patients recorded at the Kolebu Teaching Hospital dental unit during the past 50 days is what? 2.75. I don't know if it is the same data that I started with. Let me check. Yeah, it is the same data, the Kolebu data, 14, 12, 2014. So that's why the response is that the interpretation says that, sorry, the standard deviation of the number of patients recorded at the Kolebu Teaching Hospital dental unit during the past 50 days is what? 2.75. So we have about 5 minutes. Let's ask our questions. You can take me to wherever, which part of the slide you want me to go so that you can ask your question. So that is it for today. We have looked at how to find the mean, the median, and the mode of a group data. We have also looked at how to find the first quartile, third quartile, and then the interquartile range. And we've also looked at how to find the variance of a group data. So you can see that the examples are not that lengthy. They are just short tables so that when you are learning, it will sink in faster. So it is also more of what? Formula work. And the last time, I think I promised you that I'll bring the formula, but I think some of you did not like the idea. It means that you may have to know these formulas off head so that anytime you are called to produce it, you produce it. So I think that is it for this evening. In case you want to, I want to know the feedback for this Zoom class, whether it is beneficial or not. If it is not beneficial, you can send me a private message and then tell me the reason why it isn't beneficial, so that we don't look at this as an option. Normally for Zoom, it is not good for calculation work, but because this slide is detailed and simple, I think it is helpful. But if you have any comment about the Zoom class, let me know so that we know how to schedule our things afterwards. So thank you very much for joining. I think I've enjoyed the session. I will make the recording, the video recordings also available for your revision. God willing, next on Saturday, like I said, I have a review. I cannot make it, so we will meet the following week, and I think next week will also be a quiz. I don't know. I will, as usual, I will try and then send you some revision questions for you to try your answer. This quiz will be a written quiz. Okay, to be a written quiz, so it will not be objective.
Thank you, sir.
Prepare for it. Okay. Thank you very much for joining.
We appreciate.
Have a lovely. Bye bye.
Thank you, sir.
Boss. Good evening.
You want to go and poo-poo? Poo-poo-poo. Push over. Chuchu, go and sleep. Hey, check.